Yeah, back to it. Today's show, man, we're supposed to be getting a call in from our peoples. Dennis Muhammad from the Peacekeepers started to squash the beef hotline. We also looking forward to our people's Umar Johnson calling in. He will be in Kentucky at Frankfort K-State on September the 20th. So you definitely got to come out and support the HBCU. Umar Johnson definitely going to set the campus on fire with his words of wisdom. So make sure you come out 6:30 on the 20th. Check out Umar Johnson at K-State. We're looking forward to hearing from him here in a few. Also, Peacekeeper founder Dennis Muhammad.
Hey, that's most definitely what it is. Who else you trying to get on the show, man? I mean, since we talking about names and things, I want to reach out to your boy David Banner, see if we can get him on the squad.
David Banner, Killer Mike.
Yeah, Killer Mike.
Definitely gotta get him on there, because I definitely like to talk to him about some of his political views, man. He's a deep brother, but you know, we definitely gotta talk about some of these political views and see exactly where he's standing at on this voting stuff, man. I definitely want to talk to him about that, see what's popping.
This dude is, I don't even know what to say about this movie. This brother was on Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3. This brother is doing more for our people in the community. He is an advocate for the children and school. He is a certified school psychologist. So without further ado, without me running my mouth, I would like to introduce Lexington, Kentucky to the great Dr. Umar Johnson.
Peace and love, Black family. Thanks for having me on the show. Peace and love to the entire Lexington Black family, the entire Kentucky family. Looking forward to coming to Kentucky State University, one of our great HBCUs, Tuesday night, September 20th, 6 o'clock program. Doors open up at 4. All college students are free. Doesn't matter which college you go to in the world. All college students are free with ID. Children 12 and under are free. And I'm just looking forward to coming to Kentucky State University and embracing the Lexington Black community, because I've never been there before, and I look forward to this debut.
My brother, Dr. Johnson, hey, we are so excited to have you on the phone. We are excited to have you here in Kentucky at Kentucky State University. I mean, you offer so much wisdom and insight to our community. You offer so much knowledge and power. You are one of the great leaders of our lifetime. And with that being said, I know that you're a school psychologist. You'll be speaking on the school system, the school-to-prison pipeline, the 12 years of public school slave, the social dysfunction, hold on, let me say it correctly, the dysfunctional socialization of our black children. But I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question for you, my brother, and that is, since you're going to be speaking on the school system and education, the psychotropic medication and whatnot, would you mind telling, since most of our listeners are adults, would you mind speaking on what we as a people need to do to build strong black communities?
Yes, sir. First off, you need two things in order to have a strong community. Number one, you need to have structure. You need to have internal programs and processes that seek to provide people with the support that they need, but that also seeks to hold people accountable for their behavior. So you have to help, and you have to also expect contributions from those who live therein. We don't have that. We have neighborhoods. We simply live together and coexist together, but we have absolutely no internal infrastructure. Not only do we not have institutional infrastructure, we don't have any programmatic infrastructure. So, for example, if a sister is being abused by her spouse, who does she go to in the black community to have that domestic abuse situation rectified? You know, if a child is being miseducated by the public school system, where do we send that child so they can get the corrective education that they need? Yes, we have some independent African-centered schools, but most of our children will not get an opportunity to go because even those schools are already over their head in terms of how many of our children that they are able to serve at one time. If someone is sick, we don't have our own hospitals. We have to go to the hospitals that the European controls. There's no internal structure or protocol or accountability system within the black community. That is a no-no. All self-respecting people have an internal accountability structure except us. And until we do something about that, we're going to continue to suffer. All of our issues, miseducation, mass incarceration, economic castration. All of our issues are a result of the fact that the black community provides absolutely no services to its people except the service that prepares you to die, otherwise known as religion.
That is a mouthful. Now, I listened to several of your lectures, and one of them that stood out was that one that says, what we must do in 2015. It's now 2016. And you said, are we allowed to continue to use the excuse that white supremacy is holding us down or holding us back, or that is the reason that we cannot progress as a people? How would you address that statement here in 2016 for our listeners in Lexington, Kentucky?
I think that white supremacy is still the number one challenge for African people. It is the source of all problems that we have, without question. However, you and I both know that white supremacy is not going to solve the problems of African people. The only thing that is going to solve the problems of African people is African people. For example, if you play football or basketball or any type of sport, you know that the opposing team has no obligation whatsoever to help you beat them. What team is going to help you beat them? The only team that will help you beat them is Team Africa. Black people will do anything to help another group to dominate us, but no other group will ever help us dominate them. So white supremacy is always going to be the opposition. They are never going to stop doing what they're doing. They're never going to stop mass incarcerating. They're never going to stop miseducating. They're going to never stop economic castrating. They're never going to stop the poor medication that they give the African people. Nothing they do, they're going to stop. But it is our job to come up with the solution to the white supremacy riddle. And the riddle is self-determination. The riddle is economic political independence. The riddle is absolute unity of African people. That is the solution. For most people, culture is a weapon. For the Chinese, their culture is a weapon. They build an entire world with their culture as the foundation. The same thing for the Anglo-Saxon, the East Indian, the Arab, the Latino. Everyone builds an economic political reality upon their culture, except blacks. And it's not just because we don't know who we are. It's because we hate who we are. Even when we learn, we don't do better. One day we're going to have to do a systematic study, scientific assessment as to whether or not being conscious has done anything to transform the reality of the black community. I would argue that being conscious does nothing to the overall state of the black community, but being committed and being creative and being consistent and being creative transforms the community, not merely being conscious.
And that's a mouthful. Now, you mentioned two things. One of those was religion. What role do you see religion playing in the conditions in our community, or the lack of involvement, the lack of growth in our communities?
Well, remember now, religion has always been the handmaiden of the oppressor. Whenever a colonizer invades a country, there's three institutions he has to take control of immediately: the school, the church, and the police force. You take control of the school because that's intellectual domination. You take control of the church, that's spiritual domination, and you take control of the military, which is physical domination. So you got your spiritual domination, your intellectual domination, and your spiritual domination. That is absolutely critical, those three institutions, if you want to oppress anyone. And so when you look at religion within our context, religion serves the power structure much, much more than it serves us. In fact, I would argue that religion has no functional, useful value to the black community today. It does not. The religion is a pariah. It steals millions of dollars of money that we need to do things for ourselves. So religion has no functional utility, but it is very functional for white supremacy because it distracts you from taking responsibility for transforming your reality. And instead, it has you waste thousands of hours of your time on preparing to die as opposed to preparing to live.
Okay, now what about spirituality? Does spirituality have any benefits for people in our communities and community building, or would you say that spirituality is not necessary? Spirituality is a waste of time. How would you speak on that?
I would say spirituality is very critical to our resurrection as a people, because we are all manifestations of supreme divine consciousness, and the work that we have to do is going to require us to get in contact with that supreme divine consciousness. I mean, we have to be absolutely clear. One of the reasons we are in the situation we're in is because we have lost our God self. We haven't lost our religion. We have lost our God self. We have lost that self-belief that says I can transform my reality anytime I feel like it because divine consciousness dwells within me. We have confused that into believing that we have to go and recapture religion, that we have to devote ourselves to Christ or to Muhammad. No, you do not. You have to get in contact with the inner dwelling deity. That's what we need. On every temple in ancient Kemet, it said, man, know thyself. What was it talking about? Man, know thyself. Know that within you is a power that if you tap into it, not even white supremacy could stand a moment with you in the same boxing ring.
Hey, that's a mouthful, my brother. So, may I ask you this, Dr. Johnson? You spoke on consciousness.
Sir.
Do you feel as though the conscious, because we have a growing conscious community in Lexington, Kentucky. We have brothers who can tell you everything about Africa, ancient Kemet. You can talk about, Asar, Set, and Haru, and all this and that. But do those conscious brothers, generally speaking, from your knowledge and your understanding of working in the movement, on the level that you're working on, nationally, being a public speaker nationally, a motivational speaker nationally, a school psychologist, would you say that the conscious community is, well, I like to consider them a lot of times sleepwalkers. Would you feel as though that is an appropriate way to classify a lot of the members in the conscious community where they spew knowledge, but they don't have the acts to back up the knowledge that they spit?
Without question, and it's not everyone, there's exceptions to the rule. I think it's a 50-50 split. I think 50% of the conscious community is engaged in escapism, but they don't realize it's escapism. For example, history can be a form of escapism. Vegetarianism can be a form of escapism. Spirituality can be a form of escapism. So how do you determine whether or not your spirituality is progressive or whether or not it's just a form of escapism? And by escapism, we mean anything we use to distract us from our immediate responsibilities of transforming the African reality, i.e. defeating white supremacy. Okay, how do we solve our problems without confronting white supremacy? You can't. There is nothing you're going to do of significance for African people that does not involve some degree of contact with your oppressor. You're going to have to struggle. But we have organizations and individuals out here who specialize in escapism. In other words, all we're going to do is start a little bougie religious clique, or a little bougie political clique, or a little bougie social activist group, and we're just going to come together weekly or monthly and talk and study and learn and research and meditate and talk about how we're so much smarter than everybody else who don't belong to our organization. But what are you doing to transform the African reality? Nothing. So you have these organizations that, practice a form of withdrawal. They withdraw from the black community. They don't try to organize the black community. They simply recruit and withdraw. In other words, I'm not going to come into your neighborhood and try to organize the people to make a difference and transform their reality. I'm just going to find some people who I want to go along with me, and then we're going to create an elitist organization where we create this whole ego based around the identity of the group, not our Africanity, but the identity of the group. And then anybody who wants to get into that organization will basically have to come crawling on their feet and prove themselves to us, and then we will let them in. Again, the difference between an elitist black organization and escapist movement versus a revolutionary movement is a revolutionary movement is not exclusive. We're trying to help as many Africans who want to be helped. Now, those who don't want to be helped, we leave them where they are. But the ones who really desire lasting change and transformation, we are all about engaging and teaching and motivating and organizing with those brothers and sisters. That's the total opposite of the elitist, escapist, bougie, revolutionary group that simply wants to create a safe haven for something. They're not trying to save everybody. They just want to save some people because they have this need to feel superior. And you can't feel superior if you're working with everybody, because that keeps everybody on the same level as you are, which is African. We are a homogenistic people. We believe in egalitarian. They don't want egalitarianism. They want elitism. In other words, they want to use European structure to create a hierarchy amongst the Negro ghetto. And so basically they want to sit atop the community and say, we are right, and the way we pray is good, and the way we believe, and the way we think, and we're better than everybody else, and the rest of you Negroes are going to deserve what you get. You deserve to be killed by the police. You deserve to be unemployed. You deserve to be miseducated because you have failed to recognize that we are the kings and queens, and we are the only ones who know what the hell we're supposed to be doing.
Hey, that's what's up. Well, we're going to have to take a short break. We'll be right back with Dr. Umar Johnson. You are listening to Blackout Radio with the Dunn Boys. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to Blackout Radio with the Dunn Boys on WLXU 93.9 Lexington Community Radio. Right now, we have the great Dr. Umar Johnson on the line. And, hey, once again, I would just like to say it is a pleasure to have you speaking to us. And I have to ask a question, my brother. My brother Brennan had to step out, and just for the record, Brennan is the one that contacted Dr. Umar and made this possible for you guys to hear. But Brennan has a question, and his question was, Dr. Umar, why did you not participate, or why were you not on Hidden Colors 4?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, first let me say that I support the Hidden Colors movement. I don't have an issue with anybody who is a part of the Hidden Colors movement. That would be ridiculous since I played a major role in the success of Hidden Colors, the first three of them. It's just that I'm working on some other projects that really didn't provide me with the time to do something like that. I really have to start focusing on building up my own brand, because I have projects that need to be financed. We have the school, we have the Repatriation Task Force, now we have the National Independent Black Parent Association, which I will be talking about a lot Tuesday at Kentucky State University, so we want everybody to come on out. But the official statement is Dr. Umar Johnson has no issues with the Hidden Colors series. I love it. I love it what it's done. I love the role that I played in helping to make it the household name that it is. So there's no issues. It's just that my focus is on building up the Team Pan African and the unapologetically African brand, and that's where my focus is at these days.
Oh, that's definitely what's up. Now, Dr. Umar, you got to build your brand, and, being at K-State on Tuesday, the 20th, at 6 o'clock, that's going to help build that brand because everybody in Lexington knows who you are. So would you mind, please, telling our listeners what you are going to be bringing to the table? We know you always bring that fire, but can you please just, because we're going to have to close out this segment here in a few minutes. We got approximately, we got 10 minutes, Brother Johnson. So if you don't mind, just give it to them raw and uncut and let them know what they have to look forward to, because we will be in the building. Lexington will be in the building at Kentucky State. Hey, we want to know what Dr. Johnson has to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tuesday, September the 20th. Doors open up at 4. Program from 6 to 9. Every college student in America with a valid ID gets in free. Children 12 and under get in free. Elders 65 and older get in free. I'm going to talk about the miseducation machine, how special education is being used in the service of African racial extermination. I'm going to talk about the learning disability fraud. I'm going to talk about the ADHD hoax. I'm going to talk about retardation hustle. I'm going to talk about the emotional disturbance as the new angry black male syndrome. I'm going to talk about Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Strattera, Cycler, Prozac, Depakote, Risperdal, and all these dangerous psychiatric medicines that they be pumping into our boys in the name of miseducation. I'm going to talk about Marcus Garvey Academy, the illusion of inclusion, the upcoming 2016 presidential election. Should black people vote? I'm going to talk about the black male-female relationship debacle and what we need to do in order to fix our families and fix black romance, because black romance is revolutionary. I want to talk to parents about how they can do a better job of raising their children. I'm going to talk about the higher education hustle that is sending so many young blacks to college only to come out in student loan debt, owing hundreds of thousands of dollars to the bank and can't even find a job. I'm going to talk about the new COINTELPRO. I'm going to talk about the Chinese invasion of Africa. I'm going to talk about the need for black banks and the need for black businesses to unite and empower each other. And most of all, I'm going to talk about the good gospel of Garveyism, revolutionary Pan-Africanism, nationalism, or extermination. It's 2017 coming right up. You got work to do. Is unite or die.
Hey, yes, sir. I'm with you. I will be in attendance most definitely. Can you please, we want to make sure everybody is there. Everybody listening, everybody who's not listening, we need to get this message out so that everybody, every black man, woman, and child in Lexington, Kentucky will be in attendance at K-State. So can you please give all the information, the time the door is open, where it's going to be, so everybody knows from Dr. Umar that Dr. Umar will be there. Dr. Umar is going to show up.
Yes, Dr. Umar will be there the day before. I'm coming in the day before to make sure I'm there in case it rains or snows or whatever it's going to do next week. I'm going to make sure I get there a little bit early. So, yes, come on out. Bring the whole family. Bring the children. Bring the elders. Bring the neighbors. Bring the Muslims. Bring the Christians. Bring the Hebrews. Bring the Moors. Bring the corner boys hustling with a pack of weed in the back pocket. Bring everybody. This is an event for the whole community. Dr. Umar Johnson is coming to Lexington for the first time ever. Tuesday, September 20th, 6 to 9. Doors open up at 4, and we will be inside of Bradford Hall. Bradford Hall at Kentucky State University, 400 East Main Street. You can get your tickets online or at the door. Online or at the door. If you want to get them online, you get them at princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. I repeat, princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. You can also get them at the door. And if you need more information about the event, if you're interested in being a vendor or an opening act, if you want to be a vendor or an opening act, you can call 313-635-6798. I repeat, questions about the event should be sent to 313-635-6798. And if you prefer email, you can contact the host at drumarkstate@gmail.com. I repeat, Dr. Umar, kstate@gmail.com. I will also be talking about the upcoming 2017 Black Boy and Girl Black College and Consciousness Tour. We did the first one last summer, my brother. It was powerful. The students are still hitting me up. They said, Dr. Umar, when are we going to go on the next college tour? We took them to the Malcolm and Betty Shabazz site, the world-famous Apollo Theater. We went to the great site of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Dr. Yusuf bin Yakinen, James Robinson, Paul Baldwin, Malcolm X, Eddie Shabazz. We went to Cheney University, Lincoln University, Howard University, Morgan State University, Bowie State University. We went to Hampton University. We went to Norfolk State University, the Great Blacks and Wax Museum. We went to Great Adventures, Dorney Park. We went to the Nat Turner Trail. That was last year. This year, my brother, we're going to go from Atlanta. We're going to be going to Dr. King Home, the National Civil Rights Museum, Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman, Fisk University, Tennessee State, Tuskegee, the George Washington Carver Museum, Carolina Slave Trail, the Civil War boat ride, the Oyotunji African Village. If you have a child between the age of 11 and 17, if you have any questions about what's going on with your child inside of the school in Kentucky, if you have questions about the learning disability, IEP, ADHD, conduct disorder, psychiatric meds, immunization, vaccination, school law, school suspension, all your questions will be answered on Tuesday, which is a day before we celebrate the 11th anniversary of my organization, Team Pan-African, September 21st, 2005. So I'm calling the K-State debut, my brother, the Team Pan-African Anniversary Lecture, Black Power.
Hey, that is beautiful. Black Power, most definitely. My brother, due to time, we are going to have to cut it short. I wish we could just sit here and speak with you and just hear you speak all night long. However, due to time constraints or whatever, we are going to have to, shut it down. If there's anything, we got all of 2 minutes. So if there's anything that you want to let the listeners know Hey, you got 2 minutes to say anything that you may need to get out there to make sure that everybody is in attendance on Tuesday.
Yes, sir. If they need to reach me, they can reach me directly. Email drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. That's drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. Website drumarjohnson.com. Phone number 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. They can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson, and on Facebook, Dr. Umar E. Batunde. Lexington, Kentucky, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Garveyite #1, our foremost school psychologist and revolutionary, is coming to Kentucky State on Tuesday. I will be there, and you make sure you be there as well.
Hey, thank you so much for calling in. I know how busy your schedule is. I know how much stuff you have going on. I mean, just hearing, people can hear how busy you are. I would just, from Blackout Radio, from myself, Corey Dunn, from my brother, Brandon Dunn, the mayor, we just would like to thank you for calling in. Just so you know, my daughter is sitting here in the studio right now. Brandon had to step out because he had to take care of his children and football and whatnot. But my daughter is sitting here listening. I just pulled her out of school this week. She's going to start homeschooling based on some of the things that I have learned from you. So I would just like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done for the movement, for our people, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, my brother, and I will see you in a few days.
Oh, most definitely. I look
Peace
forward to it.
like that.
Peace and blessings, brother. That was Dr. Umar Johnson.